Charles Thomson is an award-winning journalist, currently working as chief reporter at the Yellow Advertiser. But he's also written extensively about Michael Jackson since he stood trial back in 2005. And Charles joins us now. Morning, Charles.
Good morning.
Your thoughts on the documentary which aired last night?
Well, I've spent the last 5 years following the court case, which is not ended, by the way. They're still trying to reprise it now. And the court case, which has been going on since 2012-13, to date has generated thousands of pages of public record documents, deposition transcripts, witness statements, disclosure, etc. And when you actually get into the nitty-gritty of those court documents, it tells a very different story than the one which is being told on screen in this documentary. These men, they did previously testify in Michael Jackson's defense, but that's not the only inconsistency. Since they came forward, they've repeatedly changed and contradicted their own stories, and one of them was actually caught deliberately lying under oath to such an extent that the judge reprimanded him, threw his entire witness statement out of the case, and said that no rational juror could ever believe his story. And this is a side of the story which is not being told by any media which is covering the case. And it's quite disturbing to watch as a journalist to see basically a universal catastrophic failure in journalism. Nobody is attempting to provide any balance.
Charles Thomson has written extensively about Michael Jackson since he stood trial back in 2005 and tweeted last night that the documentary is a journalistic atrocity. He's already given some of the reasons as to why regarding changing stories and that sort of thing. Charles is still with us. Charles, the filmmaker Dan Reed says that victims of sexual abuse often aren't able to open up about things until much later in life. Would that not explain some of the inconsistencies that you've flagged up already?
Well, that is true. It would explain perhaps a couple of minor inconsistencies. It wouldn't explain why the timeline keeps getting completely rewritten, and it wouldn't explain why these men lied under oath. As I say, one of them was caught lying so egregiously that the judge actually threw their entire witness statement out of court and said that no rational juror could believe their story. And when you have credibility issues like that, it's incumbent on the media to inform the public. What Dan Reed has done, and what he freely admits that he's done, is he's made what he's calling a documentary where he's just interviewed two accusers and then has made absolutely no attempt to interrogate or investigate their allegations. And that is completely unethical as a journalist. And the only reason it's legal is because Michael Jackson is dead. If Michael Jackson was alive, then these allegations would be covered by libel laws. But in the UK and in America, the second you die, you become fair game. There's no such thing as libel anymore or slander. So any journalist at any news outlet can say absolutely anything about you that they want, and they don't have to have a single shred of evidence. If Michael Jackson was alive right now, this documentary could not have been made and it could not have been aired.
There's been a number of allegations similar to this over the years, though, hasn't there? And I think it's fair to say some of his behaviour has been rather odd when he was alive. If we look back to some of the revelations he made on the Martin Bashir documentary. So the questions remain about some of that behaviour, don't they?
There's absolutely no question that he was a very strange man and he did make very strange decisions, but he also had a very strange life. He had a unique life. There's probably nobody in the history of the planet who has lived a life like Michael Jackson's. And the other things that are not really explained properly, if you read the trial transcripts from 2005, for example, people talk about kids staying in Michael Jackson's room. Michael Jackson's room is bigger than most people's houses. It's a two-story duplex with multiple bathrooms.
He spoke about sleeping in the same bed with them, didn't he, in the Bashir programme?
He did. He also said that the parents stayed in the bed as well. And if you look at the number of kids who traveled through Neverland, which was in the hundreds, and then you look at the number who have made allegations, it's infinitesimal, a tiny number. And those who have not made allegations are absolutely vociferous in their support of Michael Jackson. What it comes down to is credibility. Yes, there have been a handful of allegations over a 25-year period, but not one of those allegations has withstood scrutiny. All of the cases, every single one of them has been financially motivated, and every single one of them has included perjured testimony and lies. You know, in a civilized society, we believe in a jury system and we believe in a justice system. And Michael Jackson was tried in 2005. It was a 5-month trial, and he was scrutinized to the point where he literally almost died from the trauma, and he was completely acquitted on every single charge by an impartial jury.
The two men who were making these accusations weren't paid to give the interviews.
No, but they are in the middle of suing Michael Jackson's estate for hundreds of millions of dollars. So to suggest they don't have a financial motive is not accurate. Their case has been thrown out of court twice already, but they're in the middle of an appeal right now.
Do you have any sympathy for them?
I feel very sorry for them that they've ended up in this position. Both of them only made their allegations when they hit financial trouble. In fact, Wade Robson was in the middle of petitioning Michael Jackson's estate for a job directing a Michael Jackson tribute show. He spent a year lobbying for that job, sending email after email saying he was best placed to direct this show because of his amazing relationship with Michael Jackson, and he was determined to do the best job he possibly could for Michael. And then as soon as they told him someone else had got the job, he filed a creditor's claim for millions of dollars saying that he'd been abused. So there are massive credibility issues here.
Thank you for talking to us this morning, Charles. Charles Thomson, award-winning journalist, currently working as chief reporter at the Yellow Advertiser, but also has written quite a lot about Michael Jackson since he stood trial, which lasted several weeks and months, and it was televised back in 2005.
The MJCast.